This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon and welcome on board your live safari. Hello and good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Djuma Private Game Reserve, where we have finally got things up and running. We do apologize for the very delayed start, but we hope to bring you wonderful action from the wilderness. If you have any questions, please send them through to #WildEarth or throw them in YouTube chat stream or Twitch. And good afternoon, my name is Steve Falconbridge, joined by BK on camera, and we're excited to have you with us. Now, we found a few little grumpy buffalo bulls just over here. They've decided to come down and drink at the small little rain-fed pan called Chela Pan. It is quite splendid lighting. We're keeping a little bit of distance because we tried to get them coming down to drink before, and they're a little bit hesitant, so we've given them a lot more space, and it seems as if now we are at that right distance. Animals have always got a sort of a boundary. Everybody does, actually. A boundary with where they feel completely relaxed, a boundary where they feel alert, a boundary where they have to give you a warning, and then a boundary where they become potentially aggressive. And these boundaries are always very different with different animals on different days, as I'm sure sometimes with you as well. A loved one can come close by, you can feel quite comfortable, but someone who gives you a bad vibe gets to a certain distance, you feel very uncomfortable with that person. I hope that makes sense to you. And animals are the same. And there's very specific boundaries that these sort of lines run along. Right now, you can see these two are completely relaxed because they're going about their normal duty. And drinking. Delicious. I've got a friend who can lick his nose like that. I can't. 3 little buffalo bulls. We came across 3 on the way here. These are sort of offshoots from the breeding herds that are moving through. There's the pressure and just the tension that goes on within the herd leads to these older bulls eventually just having enough of it and just hanging back on their own, eating when they want to, drinking when they want to, moving when they want to, and they normally stay together in small little bachelor groups, pretty close to water and to good feeding. Well, the herd has to move off in search of bulk feeding. For the herd, these guys can sustain themselves in a pretty localized area, as long as there's water nearby. They're really enjoying that, aren't they? Makes me want to go have a drink there, BK. Doesn't it make you want to go drink? No. So now a buffalo can take about 6 minutes, everybody, to drink. That's the sort of, someone's worked it out with a stopwatch. And they'll take in about 30 to 36 liters of water, obviously depending on the size of the animal, in that very short period of time. Now, that is an enormous amount of water. It takes me... What a clown. It takes me about a week to drink 25 liters of water. These guys can drink 36 in 6 minutes. Wonderful winter light. The photographer's dream, these afternoons in winter in the drying out savannah. The light reflects off the bodies, off the horns. We wanted to set it up nicely so we could see the reflection of the water. But obviously they weren't that happy with us being that close. But we're going to just sit here a while longer and see how long it takes them to drink.
Good afternoon and welcome to and Beyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. My name is Damon and behind the camera we've got Marcel this afternoon, and we've come out into the mountains of the southwest of the reserve. We thought we'd just gain a bit of a height advantage to scan the surrounding areas around us to look for any signs of rhinos or lions or elephants. And while we're up here, we found this very unusual looking plant. Now, at first glance, it looks a bit like something out of Avatar, or maybe even some kind of cactus from a desert somewhere. And it also looks a little bit like a chandelier. And that's where its name comes from. It's a kind of euphorbia called a bushveld candelabra. Candelabra coming from the chandelier-like shape. And like we said, it does look a little bit like a cactus, but it is not a cactus. And the reason it doesn't have any spines on these fleshy leaf-like lobes. And if I were to poke with a stick or with a knife into those fleshy lobes, there would be a lot of white latex that would come out. It would look like milk pouring out of this plant. And that latex is very, very, very toxic. So toxic, in fact, that I wouldn't be able to stand as close as I currently am to it without my eyes starting to burn and even my skin starting to get irritated. So that's the reason why I'm staying quite far away from it. So very poisonous to the extent that not really much can eat it. There are many different kinds of euphorbias that occur throughout southern Africa, and some of them can be eaten by creatures like black rhino. But something interesting that I've noticed, so I'm going to ask Marcel just to follow me around to this other side, because we found another bushveld candelabra over here. Now, this one is a bit smaller, but it's got some beautiful flowers on it. I don't know if you can see those beautiful red and yellow flowers. And these flowers are super attractive to many different kinds of pollinating insects because of the amount of nectar they produce. And so bees will often come and feed on it, gather nectar, gather pollen, and they'll make honey from it. And that honey is apparently also very toxic to us humans. Apparently, if you try to eat some, it causes your throat to burn intensely. And can even make you violently ill. I was reading a story a little while ago about an early explorer in southern Africa who was given some honey by a member of the San tribe up in northwestern South Africa, and he, against the man's advice, ate a substantial quantity of the honey, and it caused him to become violently ill. The man apparently suffered quite badly from stomach and intestinal worms, and apparently that honey from the bushveld or from the euphorbia cured him of that. So a very interesting plant. Another reason we've come up here is because if you joined us this morning, we spoke a bit about the pride of lions that we were with this morning, the mountain pride as we know them, and we said that there was 2 lionesses that were unaccounted for when we saw them this morning. Those 2 lionesses being the mothers of 5 very small cubs. And this is where we believe they were born, up here on this rocky outcrop where we are. So we came up here to see if there was any sign of them. Haven't found anything just yet. So we're going to make our way off the mountain and go and see if we can catch up with the rest of the mountain pride. So we're going to...
It is fantastic having you all join us again. We had a little bit of delays over there, but Jandra and I are back here. Old Master himself on the camera, and my name's Dylan. We are in the Kalahari, southern Kalahari at Tswalu Kalahari Reserve. It is just the most incredible environment. So join us on this journey, and please ask questions, in the comment section. Wild Earth hashtag you can use as well, and just talk to us and flip and ask questions and just explore this with us. It's the best thing in the world. So the thing that I'm going to start off showing you this morning is, I think it is just, I can't even get my head around it. It's so cool. And for me to say that, then it means it really is cool. We are in the heart of winter now. It's still, the worst part of the year is going to be end of September, October, when our temperatures are skyrocketing. and there's very little moisture around. But we are in the middle of winter. There is no standing water anywhere except the small water points that we supply. But everything is just dry at the moment. It's a very, very tough time and very cold. I'm standing up on a bit of a rock face over here. It's not high, only about 100 meters off the ground. Jean-André's got his ropes linked in there. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's actually quite low. It's only about 5 meters up. But we're on the side of a hill here. And I'm going to show you something that when I saw it for the first time, it had me floored. And have a look at this. Jean-André's hoping I fall off and break a leg. Because he's chuckling. He's, oh, come on. It can happen. The problem is I would laugh as well. So I'm going to take this stick, and this might give you a clue. Now, bearing in mind, we're on an open rock face here, okay? On an open rock face. But suddenly, there's a hole in the rock. There's a hole in my rock. Dear Eliza, dear Eliza. And in that hole, there is water. Look at that. Hey? How unbelievable is that? In the middle of nowhere, in the middle of nowhere, there is a pool of water stuck inside there. And this, to our knowledge, has never dried up. Has never dried up. I mean, and you must just think what an incredible resource this has been for people and animals over the years. And in fact, right over here, I want you to just show you, to supply evidence that people have been in this environment for so many years. We're going from the late Stone Age. These artifacts we found right here, we will put them back exactly where we found them, right through to Iron Age, piece of pottery. So now we know that this water, we are like right on the end of this massive long line of human occupation of this environment. That is brilliant.
Welcome back, everyone. We just following up on this herd of impala. They started alarm calling while we were with those buffalo, and then we're just trying to figure out what's got their attention. They haven't made any more noise, but you can see they're very agitated. Their ears are up, their eyes are looking. Some of them are eating, some of them are relaxed. They're in a very tight-knit little group. One boy looking after all the ladies. I think there might be some more buffalo coming. So go back and have a look at what they're looking at. There's something behind us that they keep looking at. They're not alarm calling, which means that it's probably nothing, and probably just that other buffalo that we passed before. They did that very loud alarm call. Little nasal spray, really. A snort, you could call it. But it is communication because it alerts the rest. And a lot of people think and they say, but why would an animal make a noise when it sees a predator? Doesn't that make them more obvious to the predator? What alarm calling does is it actually causes confusion. It causes all the other animals to respond. And the alarm caller who made the initial noise, quite often his alarm call, this happens with your small surrogates and mongoose, suddenly the activity that ensues after the alarm call obviously will take away the attention of the first individual who made a noise. So it is important in social systems. You never see the small solitary antelope making alarm calls because they're on their own. Wow, Laura, you want to know which animals have symbiotic relationships? Well, pretty much all of them. Let's have a little look over here. There they are. It depends on what relationship you're looking for. They are relationships everywhere. For example, all of the animals that we have around here are facilitated by elephants. Elephants push over trees, which means that all the animals are able to eat off of the top of trees that are now on the ground. The elephants also then create those habitats which allow many species to nest. Many browsers are benefited, as I said. The tree is not that benefited, but it benefits certain grass species over some that are then detracted from. Insects are benefited in those environments as well, because the tree falling on the ground creates a very nice environment for them to breed and to nest. Small ground nesting birds, mongooses, squirrels, as well as anything like a civet or a genet will also like little thickets on the ground. Symbiosis, everybody, is a relationship between two different species. Okay, two different species, and there's a few different types. There's mutualism, where, for example, the oxpeckers that we saw on the buffalo before, and sometimes on these impala, both are benefiting because the oxpecker gets ticks, and the impala is reduced from ticks, so both benefit. Then you get another form called parasitism, whereby the smaller individual, like a mosquito or a tick, is sucking the blood of the host, but parasite is not normally supposed to kill the host. Not normally. And then you get commensalism in the form of many of the birds that are following these impala around, trying to score insects that they kick off of the ground, but they don't benefit the impala in any way. So those are the three main topics of symbiosis. And there are so many different relationships out here. Oxpeckers will use the impala's fur and others for nesting material. Whether that negatively affects the impala, it's hard to say, but it's not a parasite. Many mutual relationships out here with regards to facilitation. The buffalo will chop the grass down low, making it better for the wildebeest. The impala can feed quite low to the ground, so the buffalo's feeding also benefits them. We could go on and on with the symbiosis. There's a wonderful documentary out there, if anyone's keen to watch it, called The Queen of Trees, where it really goes into the microscopic level of symbiosis, and it's all revolving around a massive sycamore fig in Kenya. It goes all the way from elephants down to the smallest fig wasp. And the sycamore fig and the fig wasp are called obligate symbionts, which means that they rely on each other for survival. There's no other means of their survival without each other. Hello, pangolin pup. Well, there are mosquitoes and ticks and tapeworms and all sorts of internal parasites which we can get. Those are all parasitic symbiotic relationships that we can get. So if you've ever been bitten by a tick or a mosquito, right there, you are being parasitized, your blood. Some birds will follow humans as well. There's a very well-known bird in these areas called the greater honeyguide. And the greater honeyguide actually will attract people and direct humans to a nest, beehives and nests of bees, and then in exchange we'll expect a little bit of what do you call it, honey or beeswax in exchange. So we do have, I'm trying to think what other symbiotic relationships we have. I mean, you've got a dog and a cat. We get mutual love and respect from the dog and cat, so there's a symbiotic relationship because they rely on us to feed them. And, well, they just give us so much joy, don't they? Anyone who's got a pet, there's a symbiotic relationship there where the animal, I suppose, when you've got pets, though, they do rely on you for survival. So it does sort of skew the lines a little bit. Obviously, natural pets or pests in the environment. We eat many plants. We grow many plants. But we have adapted the landscape enormously to be able to alter it in our own way. And I think in forms of sustainable agriculture, people are really going back into the sort of ecology of an area and looking at how to do sustainable food. Permaculture is a very good example living with the landscape, living with the organisms, keeping all the organisms there. How do we remove pests off of our plants? Well, we allow the predators of those pests to stay, don't we? Let's move up here, BK. Got lovely light on that impala's face. We allow the predators, like ladybugs, for example, to stay. If we eliminate using chemicals on our plants, we're going to see an enormous amount of benefit to the plants by the predators of those pests, namely aphids or whatever it might be, keeping everything quite nice and sort of healthy. But all the maize across the world, everybody, is grown in agriculture, and the maize will not survive without human intervention. So essentially, there's a symbiotic right there. The maize, we water it and we give it nutrients as benefited, and we benefit from its food. And that goes for anything that we grow. Obviously, the lines can get a bit skewed in certain areas there. There's a leopard around here. We're going to find her. Hello, Susan. Cannibalism is something that does occur in the animal world. You don't normally find, for example, a lion or a hyena going out to look for leopard or lion cubs to eat, or lions to kill and eat. But sometimes when they kill them due to territory or due to competition or whatever it is that caused the altercation, sometimes they will eat them. Sometimes. It's not always the case, but sometimes it happens. There's cases of leopards who've lost their cubs, who've then eaten the cubs, the same mum. It's very sad, these things. It is nature. It is energy, end of the day. And the energy is then recycled. For example, praying mantises and many spiders are known to, after copulation, killing the male once his job is done. So that's quite drastic examples. Many spiders are able to get away from the female. It doesn't mean that every time they meet a female they get eaten, but quite often the female's far bigger than he is, and all she wants to do after fertilizing eggs is to secure a meal, and he's an easy target. Oh, I keep looking at the buffalo. Now, buffalo just in front of us now. They'll move into the open shortly, BK. We can stay with these impala. So you see how bunched together the impala are? I'm almost sure there's going to be something nearby that's causing them to be a little bit skittish. Okay, well, it sounds like Damon has stopped to smell the roses. I wonder what plants he's going to show you. How's that?
Welcome back, everyone. We are still on our search, making our way back towards where we left those lions this morning, and just having a look back at that beautiful rocky outcrop, which is where we were a little earlier with our bushveld candelabra tree, and just stopping to take a moment to use our binoculars and the zoom capabilities of the camera just to scan up onto that rocky outcrop to see if we can spot any. I'm hoping for a big cat, for maybe a lion or a leopard sunning itself in the last rays of light. It has been quite a chilly day here in KwaZulu-Natal, and often big cats like the lions we're looking for will lie on the rocks and sun themselves as evening approaches. So where we saw those lions this morning was a little bit further to the south of where we currently are. We're currently looking east, and always worth it just to scan these rocky outcrops. In fact, this very rocky outcrop that we're looking at right now is the first place that I saw those 5 small cubs that I was talking about. And in fact, the 4 sub-adults that are currently in the Mountain Pride, this was the first place that I ever saw them. So whenever I need a place to start when I'm searching for these lions, I'll often come and check around these rocky outcrops. But while we continue our search for the Pride of Lions, we'll send you across to Dylan at Tswalu.
There's a hartebeest. You see them? Those are red hartebeests. I've just seen something really cool though. Right in front of those red hartebeests, and we'll get to the red hartebeest, right in front of that one that we were looking at initially, there's a group of meerkats sitting over there as well. John, I don't know if you're actually able to pick it up. The hartebeest on the far left there at the back with the mother with the calf. If you come straight down from them, there's a little family of meerkats sitting right there. Yeah, they're about halfway between us and them. Just keep coming down from the thing and you'll see it like straight in line with the hartebeest. All right, not to worry. They might be a little bit obscured there. So I don't know how many of you have actually seen red hartebeest before, but it's not in these very arid areas. It's a more common species. Okay, yeah, there's still one sitting there now. But yeah, they don't have a huge distribution within the major reserves in South Africa. So it's actually very, very good to see them out here. You know, we've obviously got a lot of them, and it's quite an important prey species for lion out here. And it's just also really interesting to see that little group of animals there. You got the meerkats in the foreground, then you got the red hartebeest, gemsbuck, and there's a springbuck or two in that mixer as well. And you often get these groupings of herbivores in areas where there's a high risk of predation. And that's just really added vigilance. I mean, there are some other reasons. I mean, the well-known example of wildebeest and Birchall zebra associations in terms of different feeding strategies. But in groups like this is actually really a predator avoidance strategy. Or I guess not predator avoidance so much as just being able to spot the predators and say, well, we've got more eyes and ears, we can see them easily. So that's really, really good to see that group together. And the young ones, okay, you got the springbuck in the front with a black, white and brown. Hannah has just asked, so while we're looking at three animals here which are actually super well adapted, all three of these are very, very well adapted to surviving in arid areas, gemsbuck, springbuck and red hartebeest. And Hannah has just asked a question now, you know, leading on from the previous thing that we looked at, that incredible site on those rocks where there's water down there, and saying, well, if you dig deep enough in the Kalahari, in these sands, will you get to water? Generally you will, but it's absolutely no guarantee of having enough water that you can actually extract it or anything in that. So yeah, the Kalahari, this region of the Kalahari doesn't have massive water deposits, unfortunately. Or fortunately, depending how you look at it. It's probably a good thing, you know. Yes, those hartebeests are beautiful. And walking out in a big line like that. Look at that. Really unusual animal. A species, okay, we don't have it at Tswalu, but one of the species that people sometimes confuse it with are, in East Africa would be topi, and in South Africa, things like sesame. You get two species of hartebeest. This is called a red hartebeest, and in Kruger National Park, that area, you get one called Liechtenstein's hartebeest. And obviously it makes it easier if I can actually have a sesame and a hartebeest next to each other to show you the differences. But the horn structure on these ones is that really unusual shape, almost like a lyre shape. And then hartebeest, sesame's horns they're kind of recurved, almost like a half moon shape. But it's just really good seeing these, though. You know, I think a lot of people probably haven't seen them. Certainly not on these live safaris so far. And there's one playing catch up right at the back. It's a magnificent setting to see game in as well, over the hills as a backdrop there. So we're going into, and again, there's absolutely no no guarantee of it, as always, but we are going into good aardvark and pangolin time now. Temperatures dropping, bit of a breeze. So the thing that we'll be doing here, pangolin tracks are difficult to pick up at the best of times, but we'll be looking for bird activity. See little groups of birds flying up, landing down, flying up, landing down again, and that can be a very, very good indication of aardvark or pangolin. So we'll keep our eyes peeled for that.
Aiming big. Pangolin tracks and aardvark. That would be wonderful. We get aardvark tracks here quite regularly. I've yet to see one. Oh. Sorry, there's somebody in the way, but I can't actually see them. I'm going to have to move out of the way here. I might just go the other way. Excuse me. A little bit bumpy. Sometimes you just have to go the other way. Maybe that there's a reason for us having to turn around. This is where they left, I believe, just from the tracks, where they left Thandi this morning. Magic Dragon wants to know if I can tell you a little bit more about the plants around me. Well, Magic Dragon, there are many, many plants. I was hoping to get into some medicinal Monday segments while I've been back, but I just haven't gotten to it, I'm afraid. And unfortunately, it is my last drive. So I'm really hoping to find Thandi and her cub for my last drive to take a nice photo of the little one. So that has been my afternoon mission. I've been tearing around this block trying to see where she's gotten to. Not tearing, driving quite slowly. But she was left in here this morning by Tshala, and I haven't seen her come out. But I do enjoy my plants, as you know, and there are many, many around that we could talk about. I'm just going to get around this block quickly. There are 91 grass species in the Kruger Park, of which only 11 or 12 are important from a managerial point of view. It's unfortunately not the best time of year to look at grasses because most of the inflorescence have already come and gone. Some of them you can still identify, but it's tricky to get the full sort of spectrum. And there are still, thankfully, plenty of leaves on the trees. It's going to be a very nice year for our browsers and our grazers because some of the grass is actually looking still quite green. Just check this little watering hole. It's what we do in winter. Watering hole to watering hole, see what animals will materialize because water is a very important resource. Somebody parked on the other side of the wall there, so we're not going to frame up because that would just get them in shot. Let's just keep going. Okay, so here is a magnificent leadwood tree that we find close to and in around water, and when you go past a tree like this, you should always say Makosi, greeting the ancestors, because these trees can stand for over 1,000 years once dead, or over 100 years once dead, and they can live to over 1,000 years. But we come back to stories about trees in a short while. We're going to send you over to Damon, who's found some lions.
we have managed to find some lions for you, everyone. And for those of you that watched this morning, this is probably a familiar view, because these two lionesses, remarkably, are lying in the exact same spot as where they were this morning. So, like we said earlier today, they did feed quite well yesterday and the day before. And with full bellies, there's not too much for these lionesses to do. So, a long nap on a nice warm rock in the soft winter light was all they wanted to get up to today, it seems. And of the rest of the pride, currently there's no sign. I'm sure that the youngsters are somewhere around at the moment, probably lying down in the long grass as well. And I'm hoping that if we're patient, we might get to watch them playing a little bit later. And this arena in front of us looks like it will be absolutely epic if these lions do start to play. There's lots of obstacles for them to climb up onto and jump over, lots of cover for them to stalk each other from. Oh, as I say that, there's a movement. I just saw... Oh, look, there's a foot, Marcel. There's a foot. There's a foot sticking up above. So look at the koppie. There, you see the foot there waving around. The koppie just, or the little rocky outcrop just to the left of where the two lionesses are. There are some ears. Look at that. It was as if it heard me, wondering where they were, and then it kind of stuck its paw up and waved, "Hello, I'm over here." And now have a look at those ears, everybody. That's pretty much all we can see of that young lion behind the little mound there. But look at how much those black spots on the backs of the ears stand up. And I know we've all spoken about the importance of those little black spots in terms of means for lions to keep in contact with each other when they're stalking through long grass, where because of their camouflage it can be tough for them to see each other. So a couple of yawns coming from that young lion. And it looks like she's starting to have a look at how looks like she's licking herself, starting to groom herself. And so hopefully with all this yawning and licking and grooming, hopefully all precursors to her getting up and inviting her littermates to a bout of play. Preferably right here in front of us. And the two mothers, dead to the world. Have a close look at this lioness on the left, everybody. Look carefully at her belly. You might just be able to make out, just against that white, that very white of her, or that pale white of her tummy, two little black spots towards her back legs, being two of her nipples. And just looking at how kind of chewed up they are, and they're quite noticeable. Easy to tell that this lioness has had youngsters, and obviously we know that she's the mother of at least one of these four youngsters. Like we've said before, of these four youngsters, we're not quite sure which of them belong to which lionesses. Both of these lionesses went off at a similar time to give birth, and when they came back from their denning period, they came back all together, so we don't know which cubs belong to who. And while we're sitting here enjoying this beautiful scene of these lions up on this beautiful rock, we'd love to hear from all of you. If you have any questions or comments, please send them through. You can use the hashtag WildEarth on Twitter. Oh, and that youngster looks like she's starting to sit up, everyone. Oh, and there's a second pair of ears, look. It looks like that youngster's standing up. Look at her tail, arcing over her back. Looks like she's stretching. See that little black pom-pom, or almost like the tip of a paintbrush on the end of her tail, sticking up, and as she waves her tail around. And she might Wouldn't it be exciting if she comes all the way over here and maybe goes to greet the 2 adult lionesses up on that little rock? Nah, never mind. I got all excited there, everyone. She's laying down again, busy grooming her paws. Banshee, you're asking if I think that those rocks are nice and warm. Banshee, I do think so. These rocks have been exposed to the sunlight for quite some time today. Because they're so dark as well, they would have absorbed a lot of heat quickly. So they're probably still nice and warm, just like the tar of a road after it's been baking in the sun for a while. I don't know if you've ever walked onto the road barefoot just after sunset and you felt that warmth on your feet. I've got no doubt that that's why those lionesses are still up there. And I'm really grateful that they are, because I know I've said this a few times, but it really is just a spectacular scene to see lions perched up high on rocks. And these are the same 2 lionesses, by the way, everyone, that we saw during our first week of broadcasting with Wild Earth from and beyond Phinda. I don't know if some of you may remember those 2 lionesses that climbed up into that marula tree. These are those same 2 lionesses. So obviously, got a thing for trying to get a bit of height advantage to scan around them. Keep a lookout for potential danger, potential food. But there's not much looking out going on right now. Chevy, you're asking if one of these lionesses is the one with the injured claw. Chevy, no, she is not. Both of these lionesses, as far as I'm aware, the last time that I saw them walking was this morning, and all of them seem to be absolutely fine. What the one lioness does have, the one on the left, who's the one who we were talking about her belly a little bit earlier, if she does stand up, she's got quite a prominent scar on her back left hip. And I'm not 100% sure just how that happened. She is quite an old lioness, and looking at the scar, it looks like she's had that for many years. It may have been as a result of a hunt where she maybe tried to tackle a zebra or a buffalo, and she got either kicked quite badly by the zebra or gored by the buffalo, and that left a big gaping wound in her back leg. Of course, these animals will put humans to shame when it comes to their abilities to recover. Butterfly, you're asking if lions are afraid of any other animals. Butterfly, out here in the African bush, other lions might cause these lions to move away, or might cause them stress, or cause them to be scared. They will also move away quickly if they get confronted by very big herbivores, like a big herd of buffalo, or even just a very grumpy buffalo bull by himself. They'll move out of the way of hippos and rhinos and elephants, of course, just because they're so much smaller than those big herbivores. They also might get intimidated by, if there was a big group of hyenas that were to, for example, if these lionesses were on a carcass busy feeding, and there was a big clan of hyenas that wanted to take the carcass away from them. If there were enough hyenas together, they would be able to chase the lions off, and the lions would no doubt be scared of those hyenas. And then another, and this may be surprising to you, Butterfly, but people. Lions are very scared of humans. The reason being that we, of course, evolved on the same savanna grasslands as lions, and for thousands of years we hunted animals just like they hunted, and we competed with these lions for food. And although we're nowhere near as strong as a lion, we've got very big brains, and we're very good at adapting our environment to suit us, and very good at making tools, and very good at learning. So we quickly learned that even though we were smaller and much weaker than lions, we learned that by using tools like spears and and knives, and by banding together and working as a group, we could chase lions away. And in some cases, in some tribes and some cultures, even kill lions. So for that reason, lions have a, if you will, a genetic memory of us as being rivals to them and as being very scary. So for the most part, if a lion meets a human on foot, a lion will not behave in the same way as it behaves when it sees an impala or a warthog, which will be for the lion to lie flat and try to stalk the impala and be very quiet. If a lion encounters a human on foot, it will either run away as quickly as it can, or if it doesn't feel that it will be able to escape the human, it will lie low and it will growl, and it will snarl, and it will flick its tail. If you've got a domestic cat at home, you may notice that when your cat gets irritated, it twitches its tail from side to side, and lions will do just the same thing. And they'll snarl and they'll growl, and they may even give a warning charge where they come rushing forward, trying to chase you away. And it's because they want you to go away, not because they're trying to eat you. It's because they're scared. They feel intimidated. They know that you're a dangerous creature. Striped horse, you're asking if lions have a preferred habitat to live in. Striped horse, across Africa, we find lions in most of the biomes that occur in Africa, except really for the tropical rainforests of the Congo. Now, there have been camera trap photographs of lions in some of the tropical rainforests there, but they're not very common there. They are definitely best suited to the savannas of Africa, but they will also be found in desert, like in Namibia. There's a population of lions that lives there, and they'll have special adaptations to help them to survive there, but they are best adapted for the savanna. Savanna just meaning kind of a mixture of grassland and woodland, and there's varying degrees of that. So some savannas might have more grass and fewer trees, and yet other kinds of savannas might have more trees and less grass. So somewhat promising signs with this lioness standing up and shifting around a little bit. Let's see what she does here. She's stepping over the other lioness. Look how carefully she's doing it. Doesn't want to wake the older lioness up. Imagine after a long nap that she might be somewhat grumpy to a rude awakening. Imagine you've been sleeping the whole day and someone steps on you. I'm super excited to see what happens here. So we're going to spend a bit more time, I think, with these lions and see what they get up to.
Thanks, Damon. Well, we've managed to stop and find one of the nicest trees on the property. This is by far, in my opinion, the nicest tambuti sort of tree that I've ever come across. Although I might be cheating in saying that, because there's probably 1, 2, 3, 4 individual trees that have grown out of the same termite mound. Wonderful tree, tambuti, also known as African sandalwood. The wood, I've just broken off a small little piece over here. Can actually be careful if you work with it, because this is part of the euphorbia family, so it's poisonous. The leaves have got a milky latex. I'll grab one for you shortly and show you. But the wood, if you do work with it, it's very, very highly prized wood. Actually very good returns on this wood. But if you do work with it, the sawdust that comes off can make you blind, because it's euphorbia, it's toxic. Ingesting it, inhaling it will kill you. Could go blind, so just be very careful if you're working with this. And this is the one tree that always grows close to it in and around rivers. If you ever do go camping in the Kruger National Park or in an area near the Kruger National Park, you're going looking for firewood, just be very, very careful about the wood that you select from the bush. This wood will give off a bit of a sweet aroma, and if you inhale the smoke, it'll make you quite ill whereby you need to go to the loo. And if you cook meat on it, you will go to the loo until you die. So don't ever do that. Heidi, giraffes will feed on on these guys from time to time, but I've only seen them eat a little bit on a tambuti. Bring it for you here. It is poisonous, so black rhinos, porcupine, they go quite crazy for tambutis, but giraffe I've seen eat a few tambutis. I think maybe they want to upset their stomach. They do have a very large liver, which can help sort out any problems that there might be. Okay. There we go. Can you see it, Beaks? Milky latex, everybody. 1 drop of that. It's actually quite bad for the skin as well. 1 drop of that on a tooth that's giving you a very, very bad time will deaden the nerve. But ingest that drop and you could die. Be very, very careful. Very careful. And the leaf is quite easy to identify, where it's green. It's kind of a little bit sharp on the edges there, tapering off to the top. But if we look back at the specimen over there, you'll see how magnificent it is. And in the afternoon light, especially now in the winter time, especially over on the left, you start seeing that the leaves are going red. The leaves are all going to fall off at some stage once the water levels drop. And you'll find many, many animals feeding on the fallen leaves because the tambuti retracts that chemical, because the chemical is there to prevent it from being eaten. Retracts the chemical to hold it inside the plant, drops the leaves off in winter, and you'll find multitudes of animals feeding on the leaves in the winter months as a source of protein. Very, very nice tree, and this is probably one of the nicest examples on the property. And on that termite mound, I've been dying to see a leopard sitting on there. Okay, so we're going to jump back on the vehicle and we're going to continue on our adventure away from the sunset.
So what I've got here is super cool. Everything else is cool. That's the problem, man. But thanks to some of you actually sent me personal reminders not to forget this, because I actually said when we were watching the art park that, don't worry, tomorrow I'll bring you something really nice, interesting, and then I kept forgetting, so thank you for that. A number of you have reminded me. What this is, it looks like a piece of coral, okay, but it's not. This is, I'm going to come, Jean, just shout when you're I'm at a good distance for you, sir. So this is a bronze cast. Okay, this is metal that I'm holding. It's a bronze cast of a piece of a termite mound. So this termite mound had actually been dug open, and there was a lump of it lying on the surface of the soil. And we had a fantastic artist here called Nick Bladen, who's joined our artist in residence program a couple of years ago, and he decided to actually try and make a bronze cast of the inside of this broken piece of termite mound. And this is actually not even from Tswalu, it's from a district road in the area. But how amazing is that? The thing that blows my mind with this is the absolute intricacy of all these chambers and just how insanely well connected they are. I mean, when you see a termite mound, on any of the drives, whether it's here at Pinda, in Gala, wherever it is, Juma, is you see it above ground, you don't realize just how complex these systems are below ground. And I think I said the other day, if I was a termite, I would get horribly lost. If I was sitting here and I had to get to there, forget it. That just wouldn't happen, eh? Wow, there's an interesting question. Nature Girl has asked, the design on these termite mounds, and if you compare it to coral, the designs are fairly similar. And is it coincidence, or is there a specific reason for that? Well, unfortunately, I would love to dive and see coral, but I haven't. But I would love to see that when I'm big one day. I'll do it. But Jandre, what do you think? Have you got any comments there? I don't think so. If there's any specific, correlation in the designs, and also bearing in mind the other thing that we're not seeing with this. Okay, this is a single small piece of a massive mound. I've no idea how deep this thing would have gone. When I say massive, the mounds here in the area, a big one would be about that height. You occasionally get larger ones like that, but a big one would be like at the standard is that kind of height above ground. So we're just seeing a broken piece that had been dug open by probably an artfok that was used. How deep, and the extent of that termite mound under the ground, it would be difficult to say. And in terms of that question that you've asked there, how would that form? You probably get this kind of, I don't know, maybe a pyramidal shape underground or a larger point, and then the termite mound goes deeper and deeper and deeper down towards the water table. But yeah, I really wouldn't be able to answer that with any kind of definitive answer. If anyone has any ideas or suggestions, please feel free to put them through. Jane78 has just asked a great question as well. And I'm afraid I think I may be the wrong person to answer. Just you're asking questions I can't answer now. I have to sharpen up a little bit. But this chap, this artist, and he is a phenomenal artist. He actually specializes in botanical sculptures and that. So Nick Bladen from Cape Town. And he wanted to try this and just see, well, how would the metal actually run into, and what it is that, obviously this metal must get heated to some ridiculous temperature. It's bronze, to be able to melt whatever the melting temperature of bronze is, and if Nick happens to be out there, he'll probably be able to tell me. And essentially it's pouring it into cast because of these termite mounds, and I'll find another broken piece at some point. I'll get another piece, and you can see it. It's essentially a clay mass because there's a lot of clay in these termite mounds. So essentially you're taking a clay mold, and then you're just pouring the molten metal in there. And if the metal is liquid enough and you vibrate it a little bit, it'll actually just fill all those little chambers in that. But I really just wanted to show you this because the pieces I'll pick up here, you can see it. It's like the positive, this is a negative. And you're like saying, well, there's this lump of clay with holes in it. But when you actually see, this gives you a beautiful idea of just how intricate, complex, and incredibly beautiful these structures are underground. We're going to carry on and see what else we can find for you.
Wild Earth relies on support from viewers like you to carry on broadcasting our daily live shows. A small donation goes a long way in helping us on our mission to connect the world with nature. Please visit our support page to see how you can help and become part of the Wild Earth family.
Very, very cool. Okay, never mind. I'll show you later. But yeah, we just got back to the lines. There's Birmingham Pride, and the rest of the Pride is actually way down far in the south. The other members that we were missing this morning. So we've got 10 of them here, and then 5 of them way down in the south, and then the lioness with the 2 cubs. We're not too sure where exactly she is. But as you can see, slowly but surely, the youngsters are waking up. There are impalas alarm calling behind us. I don't know whether they've got the scent of the lions or they can't see the lions. So they're actually looking in different directions, not really at the lions. So they might be able to smell them. I can hear more and more of them alarm calling. So actually some of the lions are actually looking at them now to see if there's any sign of another predator or whether they are looking at the lions. But like I was saying, quite an interesting afternoon for us. So this morning, let me start the story from the beginning. This morning when we left this pride, we went back to where we thought the carcass was. But in that area, there's so many young leadwoods and so many young jackalberries that we couldn't actually drive in. So we thought, if there's a carcass, the rest of the pride might be in there. So we're not going to drive. We're not going to walk in there. So we left it. And then Scott Yaman that used to work for us here at Beyond Ngala. He's now at the Southern African Wildlife College, which is just on the southern side of the property. He went out and he told us that he found a pride of 5, which, you know, weirdly, 5 was the number of lions we were still looking at. So we went there this afternoon just to go see, and of course it was the 2 Ross males, then 2 lionesses, and 1 youngster, or one of these, female, and she's with them. But the distance between these 2 is about 12 kilometers, 11 kilometers. You know, so it's quite amazing that they split up last night like that. You can see this, these youngsters are a bit disconcerted about the impala's alarm calling. It's also good though, they are starting to wake up. Big yawn there from the white male. That's a pretty lion. I'm excited to see what happens when he grows up. He's got a big head. But they have not moved the entire day. Quite cute. The one youngster here is using the other youngster as a pillow. Matt asking, are yawns contagious for lions? Matt, they are in a way. It's just that, you know, it's like us. Well, yawns are contagious for humans, of course, but here often also they start waking up at the same time. So one lion, I think, can hear the yawn of another lion. So another lion will start yawning, and then on it goes. But now what happened here is only the young male is yawning and none of the others are yawning yet. But a little bit earlier on, some of the others were yawning, and this caused the young male to start yawning. I'm just waiting for the adults to really start waking up now. And this one that's so comfy on the side of the other one. It's interesting to... So I'm watching the impalas, and so right behind us, and they're all facing to the right, and then they're looking at us, and then looking other sides. So it must just be a smell of the lions that they have. Of course, knowing that there are ambush predators, even if they can't see them, if they sense them in the area, impalas will start alarm calling, saying, I do see you, which is a lie. But then sometimes, because the impalas do this, the lions will lift their head, thinking, oh, I have been spotted, and then lose the element of surprise. So, quite clever. Apparently, Eric is saying that yawn is definitely contagious to him. Eric, I nearly yawned as well.
Welcome back to the end of the sunset. We're just going to allow you to sit in the one final quiet moment. We just listen to the night. Nature girl, nature is wonderful, and the designs in nature are as an engineering marvel. I don't think the top engineers in the world could design things to be like nature has done. And so it's why when we look at things, I think Dylan was talking about coral, think about a beehive. There's very specific sequences in nature that make things structurally strong. There's very specific equations that nature's worked out. And when it comes to blood network and vessels in the body, as you asked, it's similar to that of trees. Tree is a living body and it needs to pump liquid and sugars up and down. And our body is exactly the same. We have to pump oxygen and food around the body. And the substance itself is probably also very similar as well. I mean, nature is quite incredible how water is able to climb up a tree from the roots, from the ground all the way up, bringing all the nutrients with it. The sunlight energy captured on the leaves, we still haven't quite figured that one out. Lots of biomimicry in the world, lots of things that people have tried to mimic from nature. If you've ever heard the term before, biomimicry, it's when you take nature's design and you turn it into a human purpose. There is a structure in Harare, I believe, in Zimbabwe, that has utilized the design of a termite mound for cooling. And the building is designed with a honeycomb sort of structure, and it's a natural cooling. It keeps the building at the exact same temperature by drawing hot air and cold air as it needs it due to the system design. The termites did that so as to maximize the temperature or to maintain a balanced temperature for the fungus that they grow. So they designed it out of necessity for the fungus that they use for breaking down food. Nature is quite incredible. Symbiotic relationships that are going on around all the time, driving everything forward. Just to imagine the plethora of organisms between here and that mountain range. Boggles the mind. I have always, and I do always enjoy these silent moments, thought of you. Hopefully we'll get to do another one soon. We'll be leaving you in capable hands. James Hendry is arriving in camp today. Lauren Arthur is here. Trishal and myself will be out in the morning. I think we might just sit here a while longer.
Hello everybody. Sorry I've joined you so late, but my name is Taylor McCurdy and on camera with me is Gert, and we are here live in a Pridelands part of Baluli Game Reserve, which is situated within the Greater Kruger. And we're following 3 lionesses, as I think they're going to look for something to eat, because they're on the thin side. So we're just going to try and follow the same way that they're going. I'm going to, I think I'm going to have to take the sneaky way around here. Apologies, I'll get you a view of the lions in a minute. Just need to do a little maneuver. How exciting. So we've been sitting with these lionesses and we knew that they were going to start moving, and we had a suspicion that they were going to come to this big open plain because there's normally lots of things for them to feast upon. It doesn't look like there's much out here right now. Okay, I will stop like this so that you can see them. Hello, lions. But this is wonderful. So this is 3 lionesses that are part of a bigger pride, but they don't seem to spend too much time with one another anymore. I don't know when the last sighting of all of the lionesses were together. However, we have definitely seen 3 lionesses meet up before, and I suspect that it might be the same one. There is one little lioness that often joins them, but she's not here today. Now they're just marching straight down the road. Like I said, I can't actually see an animal in sight. No impala, no zebra, no wildebeest, and they are all normally hanging around you. But they are quite, like I said, they're quite thin. They definitely need a meal. But they've been scent marking as they woke up. One has heard something in the bushes. You can see how she stopped for a minute, the one right at the back. And she looks like she's thinking very hard. To have their hearing must be so impressive. To hear the slightest of rustles. And there are lots of kudu that hang around in this place area too. This morning we saw some kudu around here. We know that all the animals head down towards the drainage systems, which there is one just on the left, to come and feed as dry season begins. Well, now the second one has also heard perhaps what the lioness at the back has heard. Interesting. So we're going to keep following them at a distance, and hopefully they will catch something for us, or at least a stalk. That's always very exciting. A flick of the tail. Also smelling something on the ground. I wonder what she's picked up on. Oh, what's the lioness doing up in front? Can you see how she's sort of arched her back slightly? She also looks like she's seen or heard something. Here we go. Look at her. She's gone into a full stalk. That's pretty impressive. She's gone quite low down. I don't know what's on the other side. Oh, she's picked up the pace there. Now another lioness is flanking off to the left. You can hear the lapwings, the crowned lapwings going crazy. They're not very impressed. Those are birds that are nesting out in this open area. They must have seen something on the other side of this drainage line. Butterfly, right now this is the time when lions are most active, this sort of crepuscular period, so I'm going to drive up forward so we can see what's going on. Right, I'm wondering if we shouldn't go back through there. Sorry, I'm just deciding what we're going to do. I think we're actually going to go back through the drainage line and then come out on the other side. I think that's going to be the best idea, because there's no way, you know what, I'm just worried though, Kat. Tough decisions. Okay, well, let's go up a little bit further, because I don't know, there's a bit of an open area before we get to the drainage line, and the prey might still be on this side. So sorry, Butterfly. Typically predators are quite active sort of the last hour in the morning, the last hour before the sun starts to rise, and then at this sort of time they start waking up and yawning after their day of sleeping. So I'm not going to go too fast. There's impala in here. Can you see them through the gap? I've just seen impala sprinting off. Again, it's going to be difficult to get in there. But there were impala just there just a second ago. I don't know if those lionesses were too hasty with their decision, because they were sorry, I'm all tongue-tied. They were walking out in the open. They weren't hiding. Impalas have got fairly good eyesight. The nose in here. I just need to be very careful about off-roading in this section. Dumps and rocks, and I don't want to get myself into a sticky situation. Right, we're going to try and find a place to poke our heads in and see what those lions are up to.
Welcome back, everyone. We have just adjusted our position ever so slightly and found that the signal has still been favorable, and we've managed to get you this unbelievable view of this lioness. She's still up on that little rocky outcrop. The other lioness has since moved, and the other youngsters are all still sound asleep. But while we've got this gorgeous lioness up on this rock, looking off into the distance out to the west where the sun has set a couple of minutes ago, just a beautiful scene. And really amazing to see now, looking at her from such close quarters. Look at how thick that neck of hers is. Look at how big her shoulders are. Super muscular. And yet so elegant at the same time. Very clean looking lion. Look at how her coat is basically unblemished. There's very few scars on her body. Here comes a yawn. Oh my goodness, she is showing off for us. I hope all of you got some beautiful screenshots there. And she's gone from being very fast asleep to pretty wide awake in the last couple of minutes. She's looking out over the edge of this little depression that she's in. And we're watching all the lion's body languages quite carefully, because of course in this darkness, oh, she's getting up. She might come down the hill. Look at that big stretch. It's getting limbered up after a full day of sleeping up on her rock. If she comes down this hill, it's going to be very cool. Another yawn, just for good measure. Those big canine teeth of hers. Still in very good condition, which helps to tell us that she's quite a young lioness. Those teeth are still pretty much intact. Often as lions get older and older, their teeth get worn down and their big canines start to blunt a bit on the ends. And here she comes, gingerly making her way down the hill. She's taking the switchback option, zigzagging to and fro. And here she comes right past the side of the vehicle. Sit nice and still, everybody. She's going to urinate first. Oh my word, look at that. And look at how she's scraping her feet on the ground there. Not super vigorously, but that's just a means for her to mark her territory. A means for her to tell other lion prides that this turf is taken. Okay, so we're going to put the IR on. You'll see the screen will change and become much brighter. And look at her now going up to go and greet the old lioness. She's going to go rub heads with her. And looking at her belly, everyone, I know we've spoken about this quite a bit, but have a look at her. I don't know if you were able to see. Under her tummy, there was a little bit of a flap of skin that was visible there. And that tells us that her tummy is not as full as I had originally thought. So it looks like she didn't get as much of the kill that they made the other day as I had originally thought. And with a tummy that looks like that, she could very well try to hunt this evening. I'm just going to I've got a spotlight with a red filter over the front of it. And I'm just going to switch that on so that we can see these lines a bit better. How's that, everyone? I won't shine directly on the lions, but just that bit of extra red light should help to get us a slightly better view of them. And up on these rocky hillsides, like we saw that bushveld candelabra earlier, that strange looking tree that is often found on rocky hillsides. There's lots of different kinds of plants that prefer to grow on these rocky hillsides. Things like red bush willows, and those especially are a favored food of browsing antelope like kudu. And so these hillsides have got a rich population of kudus, and perhaps that's something that these lionesses might try to hunt this evening. We often see kudu moving around in these rocky areas. I'll be listening out carefully for them. While we're sitting here, there's lots and lots of bats that are starting to fly around us. Little insectivorous bats that have come out in the darkness to feed on little insects. Plenty of rocky caves in these little hillsides where they would have been roosting for the day. Oh, there's another yawn. Lots of yawning going on. And they say yawning is contagious, so maybe this lioness closer to us will also give us a yawn just now. You guys have had a good rest today. Come on. It would be lovely to follow you into the dark as you go off in search of your next meal. There we go. She's up and moving around, quite restless. So again, I do suspect that she probably got the least. Here we go, there's a yawn. Oh, beautiful. I hope you all got some screenshots there. And I'd love to hear from you if you're able to get a screenshot there, and if the quality was good enough, if you zoom in on those big canine teeth. This is a much older lioness than the one who was up on the rock with us just now. So have a look at her teeth and see if you can see if they look any shorter or any less sharp. They should be quite a bit blunter, quite a bit more worn down through years of her having used them to dispatch prey and fighting with other lions over territory. So these lions are starting to move around, it seems. We're going to stick with them and see if they start to try to hunt.
Wild Earth relies on support from viewers like you to carry on broadcasting our daily live shows. A small donation goes a long way in helping us on our mission to connect the world with nature. Please visit our support page to see how you can help and become part of the Wild Earth family.
So not too much. I mean, slowly but surely they are waking up, and it's been grooming here or there. It's actually been quite funny watching them grow or wake up, because what that one just did, that one was grooming a female, and now it just left the female, but you can see the female is now stretching out her paw. So actually it wants the youngster to come back and groom her some more. Now if you look to the right of that one, that's now grooming the one in the middle. The one lying on its back is almost trying to grab the other one's head, also saying, please groom me some more. It's actually quite hilarious watching lions wake up in this sense. They want to be licked, they want to be groomed, they want to be cleaned. They want to feel that love. But otherwise, not too much changing. See that paw on the head, almost trying to pull the head towards it. Like hugging it. So she's trying to force... Oh, it doesn't want to groom her. She's trying to force the head back to just start looking or licking her. Please. No, having none of it. I say quite persistent, the one in the back. Yeah, there's that paw again. So it was always going to be a slow wake up because they ate this morning, so there's really no rush to go into a hunt at all, which is why there's no rush. They'll roll around, they might stand up, go wee, then go lie back down again, join the rest of the pride, groom each other, lie down some more. But there's really just no rush to do anything tonight. None of them are super hungry at all. I think they had quite a nice meal this morning. Still not too sure what it was. See the belly in the air. All good signs of waking up, good signs of movement, and then nothing. For now, it's just a one-line nest that's got to head up. Also, the reason why we wanted to come here is because the pride split up. We were thinking, I know the distance is about 11 or 12 kilometers between the two, but they would definitely be able to hear the other ones if they start calling. And we were hoping, because there's two lionesses and a youngster there with the Rossmales, these ones would answer just to tell them, where we are, where they are. Otherwise, if it was just the Rossmales calling, I don't think the pride would answer back. But with the other three there, they might. So that's kind of what we were hoping for. But so far, no lions calling at all. Just a bunch of feet in the air. Or paws. The temperature has really dipped quite a bit since we've been sitting here. So it would be quite the adequate time to start roaring. Of course, the sound would travel further in cold air. Very comfortable, very lazy. Hannah asking, can the lions see the red filter light? Hannah, at the moment, I don't have any spotlight on them at all. So we are actually in infrared. So not shining any light on them whatsoever. But yeah, usually it would make sense. I mean, their eyesight is actually a lot better than ours as human beings. So they would be able to see the red filtered spotlight, definitely, without a doubt, Hannah. But, I mean, how amazing is it that we are sitting here now not shining any light on them whatsoever, and you can see this on your screen. How beautifully lit up is this lioness's eye. So this is all just sun or through the infrared camera. So she's listening to something in the back now. Lynn asking if any animals react to our light. Lynn, not really, not here. They're very used to it, I mean, of course, it is blinding to any animal if we had to shine the white spotlight on it, which is why we put the red filter on. It's a very softer kind of light on their eyes. But no, they're not like insects that would react to the light, that actually, go to it at all. It just helps us to see. Although usually driving gets around and we start taking out the spotlight, a lot of them ask if we are taking out the light to scare the animals off of the road. And no, this is not what we are doing. It's actually just to find the animals, so they don't react to the light at all. But of course, anytime we come across animals that are active during the day, we would switch off the light. We don't shine the spotlight on those. Just with predators, their eyes adjust a lot quicker to light and dark. But yeah, I think for now, the sun's setting, there's still no sound. This lioness might get up soon. She's stretching a little bit, but I think we'll maybe spend another couple of minutes here and just see what happens.
So we decided to brighten up Mel a little bit. We gave her some flowers just to kind of like soften the appearance, because she's looking a little bit worse for wear these days, but she's still with us. But while we're here, we've got this amazing porcupine burrow right below us over here. There's lots of activity, but there's no sign of them coming out anytime soon, unfortunately. So we're not going to wait around over here. But this gives you a nice idea of how deep those holes can go. I mean, it's pitch dark down there. Jandro is obviously getting the lens zoomed right in there. But that gives you a nice idea of these burrows. This one is tiny compared to the burrow system that we sat at yesterday afternoon. That one I could literally stand in the entrance like that. That's how big that burrow is. We didn't go down there obviously, but it's just, going around the edge you could actually see. I mean, so these things get massive and they get old. Very often what's characteristic of these porcupine burrows is accumulations of animal parts, like I'm talking about particularly bones. So you'll get like leg bones and horns and whatever, and they drag those back from carcasses, and it's very seldom is it very fresh stuff. It's normally older stuff that's dry, and they take that down. They actually use it for gnawing. They get calcium, and then they keep those incisors nice and sharp, but then also because they're rodents, so those teeth grow the whole time. So they need something to just keep them at a good length. I'm going to come a little bit closer over there. Sorry, interestingly, what's characteristic of these porcupine burrows, the older ones, sorry, Jandre, is you often get multiple, so one burrow entrance, like the main hole, but then multiple paths actually extending away from it, which is what, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 potential paths out. So you get the burrow entrance, and then you get these different paths that radiate outwards. Whereas if you look at those meerkat burrows that we've been seeing, there's lots of different actual entrances to chambers under the ground. So that's, and there's a slight size difference. You're not going to get confused between a porcupine and a meerkat, I hope. But anyway, while we're talking about porcupines, we picked these calls up. There's a distinct, is that good enough, Chandra? That distance go. There's two very, very different looking calls over here. There's this, and unfortunately this one is not one of the real defense ones. This one, I'll turn it the right way around. So this is the part that would have gone in, stuck in the porcupine's skin like that. And this one would probably be like this kind of length. A nice, very soft, whippy one. These are the feeler calls. And then underneath that you would have these very hard, sharp calls that are used for defense. This one is quite interesting. This is very soft. I don't know if you can hear that. There we go, very soft, almost like plastic. And these are the calls that are on the tail, on the end of the tail. And these are the ones that porcupine actually rattles, because he's got a whole lot of these hollow calls on the end of his tail. When he's alarmed, he like stamps his feet like that, and then he rattles the calls on the tail. And it's a super, like that. That's what they sound like. Sorry if anyone's downstairs, didn't mean to disturb you. But I've got a joke that I just came up with. Speaking of, what blankets do porcupines use at night? A quilt. Yeah, that was weak, but I couldn't resist that. Anyway. So one of the viewers has just commented, and I really apologize, I didn't get the name there, is that they used to use these hollow quills as floats when they're fishing. Beautiful, 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 example of how natural resources can be used. And, you don't need to kill a porcupine. When you find quills like this, it doesn't mean there's a dead porcupine somewhere. It might be. Lions catch porcupines, leopards catch them. There's all sorts of ways of a porcupine dying, I guess. But just because you find a quill doesn't mean that the porcupine died. Yeah, these quills are loose. They're modified hairs, so they come out over time, and they get replaced by others. So yeah, I mean, you could find a porcupine quill, no problem. But we'll keep our eyes open, and we'll look for the long, hard ones, the ones that they use for defense. Those are ones that I really want to show you. We've got two nice examples of these ones, but we'll keep our eyes open for those. But anyway, Mel with her flowers is going to go to bed, and we're going to carry on ambling up this road to see what else we can find for you.
Sounds like great fun. I must say, even here, we've noticed a lot more porcupine activity. There's a lot more poo and quills around the reserve. But I think it's because there's less vehicles driving around nocturnally, so they are just everywhere. Now, of course, we haven't seen one yet. It'll be quite fun to see, so good luck. Dylan, here, not too much has changed. There's still a little bit of grooming. It's just the one female that's got her head up, and she's actually, interestingly, she's listening in the exact direction where we left the rest of the pride this afternoon, the two rice mouses, sisters, and then the one youngster. I'm wondering if she's waiting for them to call. Of course, those two sisters are her youngsters, you know, from way previous litter. So I wonder if she'd be the first one to respond if she does hear a call. There's still Impala's alarm calling behind us, and there was a lone wildebeest. But so far, none of the lions are actually, they've not taken any interest in them. It's been a good night to hunt though. There's no sign of the moon yet, so not a lot of light. But also no breeze, no wind whatsoever. You can see those are still very, very sleepy. They've not moved. Huh. You can just hear them licking themselves or grooming themselves. Taran's asking how long the lions will stay active during the night. Taran, this, you know, it varies. It depends. So tonight they might sleep more than other nights because, you know, they hunted this morning. Although if they want to meet up with the rest of the pride, you know, they might walk the whole 12 kilometers and go there. So it kind of depends on what they want to do. It's usually they'll walk a bit and then they lie down and they sleep, and then they walk a little bit more and they lie down and they sleep. Same thing in the cold mornings as well. They tend to be more active when it's cooler. Look at that one, like begging to be groomed again. So yeah, it just depends on what they want to do. But it might be something like 4 to 6, maybe at a push, 8 hours. It's usually around 4 to 6 hours. So this one is looking in the direction of the impalas. Alarm calling right behind us. They'd actually be able to see the impalas now. I can't see anything. I can only hear them. So the lioness is up. Big yawn, big stretch. She might go and touch everyone, go groom, go touch heads with everyone, just reaffirm that social bond, greet her sister. So I mean, if she starts walking, the pride's going to follow. I think she's going to go to the bathroom first. There we go. Oh, it'd be so nice if she just started letting out a roar, and entire pride would follow suit. A very muscular lioness, especially for her age. She's, about 14? She's over 14 years old now. Okay. Well, we're going to sit here for quite a while longer. Sounds like Dylan is still looking for his porcupine. So good luck to Dylan. See what he's up to.
So there's a quill just down the entrance as well. I'm just going to grab it because it's quite a nice one to compare with the other ones that we had. So this is one of the big spiky ones. there's something else cool inside there, but we'll show you on another day. So there's the, I don't know what all this heavy breathing is for. It's like a little hole. There's one of these calls that they use for defense. Much, much harder, much stronger, and razor sharp. I'll come a little bit closer, just so when, is that good? That thing is razor sharp. So this end part sits in the skin of the porcupine, just on the edge like that. When an animal or a predator, any danger, touches those long feeler calls, or the porcupine thinks it's close enough, and he's given all the warnings. He's stamped his feet and he's rattled, and the thing doesn't ignore it. The porcupine always keeps its back to the predator, and they'll just keep turning around like that. And if they get close enough, they feel them, then they just reverse in, and that embeds, and then it just comes out the porcupine's skin. No harm to the porcupine. Most of the time they just get away unscathed. And you see lots of lions, with especially young lions, sub-adults, that are like kind of flexing their muscles and like learning how to hunt, that get porcupine calls, and old lions that are battling to hunt their normal prey. Then they start going for these porcupines, dangerous prey. So just over here, while we're on the whole subject of porcupines, I'm going to actually bring it closer there. These are porcupine droppings, and they are just, it's nothing gross or anything about it. It's literally just plant material. Literally, it's just bark, tubers, roots, bit of grass. There's nothing, doesn't even smell. I wasn't going to taste it for those of you who are worried. But yeah, that's porcupine. So great, you got his house, you got 3 different kinds of calls. He's actually got more, like little whiskers and things like that. But he's got at least those 3 different kinds that we showed you over there. There's droppings. And in good daylight, maybe tomorrow or in the near future, we're going to show you some really good porcupine tracks. So we're going to head on in the meantime.
Righty, so some of the lions are actually starting to wake up again. No, it's actually just the one lioness. And she's grooming herself, she's grooming the youngster in front of her. She decided to change our spot a little bit, just to see some of their faces. See, that one is now staring at a wildebeest that has also started alarm calling at the lions, but way off in the distance. So they're not interested in hunting the wildebeest at all, just yet. Jay just slowly waking up. It'll be interesting to see where they go in the morning, if they walk south and west to where the rest of the pride is, or if the rest of the pride comes here. Pretty sure Sean would be able to figure that out early in the morning already, hopefully, fingers crossed. Don't want to put too much pressure on Sean. Just slowly but surely waking up as we are all getting ready to go to bed here in South Africa. Well, it's a little bit early. First minutes eat, have some dinner, go back to bed. But I don't think they'll be moving anytime soon. Maybe another hour or so. I think for now, from our side, as they start to wake up, we're going to start saying goodnight. But what an absolutely wonderful day. A spectacular morning, spectacular afternoon from everyone. And it's been absolutely wonderful having all of you on safari. So we'll see you in the morning.